Hey everybody, it's Karla Swanigan with KSM, and I welcome you to day 2 of our online Bible study devotional on faith. We're going to jump right back into the scriptures today and look at somebody else that God called to step up into faith in the Bible. Turn to Esther chapter 4. We're going to start with Esther chapter 4, and we're going to be looking at verse 10. Some of you may already know a lot about Esther's story. She was a Hebrew that was not in her own culture anymore. She was living in the palace with the king, and he was not a believer. He was not a God follower. And so she was very much hiding her faith and her belief in God. And so we're going to pick up the story here in verse 10, where God has asked her to plead for the deliverance of her people for the king. So she's got to go to the king. So let's pick it up here in chapter 4, verse 10 of Esther. Esther spoke to Hathach and commanded him to tell Mordecai, all the royal officials and the people of the royal provinces know that one law applies to every man or woman who approaches the king in the inner courtyard and who has not been summoned, the death penalty. Only if the king extends the gold scepter will that person live. I have not been summoned to appear before the king for 30 days. So now we know that this was a life-threatening request that Mordecai is making of Esther. Her very life depends on it. She may feel, I'm sure, super scared and very ill-equipped. This seems way too big of a request for God to make of her. And she's probably very frightened and afraid. And, you know, some of us, we have requests that God has made of us, things that He's asking us to do. They may not be life-threatening things, probably, but they can feel really scary. We can feel intimidated. We can feel equipped. We can feel that we don't have what it takes, that we're not qualified to do this. But listen, it tells us in Romans chapter 8 that God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He will qualify you. He will give you what you need. He will give you the grace and sustain you in whatever He's calling you to do. So now let's pick back up and see what Mordecai says about this step of faith that he is asking Esther to take. In chapter 4 of Esther, verse 14, Mordecai replies to Esther, if you keep silent at this time, liberation and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place. But you and your father's house will be destroyed. Who knows? Perhaps you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. So that says it all right there, you guys. I mean, it's going to take the gift of faith for her to be able to do this. And Mordecai is reminding her that perhaps God has placed her in this situation for this very moment. And I know that this applies to me in my own life. I had a situation where I was I guess you could say working with this person every day. It was a volunteer situation, and I was going there to help out and to volunteer. And there were a lot of unbelievers at this place, so I was definitely kind of the odd man out, and I was very open about my faith and clear to everyone that I was a Jesus lover and that I followed Him. And there was this one particular woman that was really irritated by that. She openly mocked me, and she made fun of me for my faith and told me it was pretty ridiculous to believe in an unseen God. And she just gave me a really hard time for probably about 2 years while I was volunteering. And then one day I had left there and I was on my way to go out of town for a trip, and I got this phone call, and it was this woman. And she was crying on the phone, and she's like, please, I need you to pray for me. I just got a phone call here at the place where we volunteered. And she said, I just got a phone call here, and I'm going to have to rush to the hospital. The man that she had been dating was really, really sick. He had had a heart attack, and he was about to die. They didn't know if he was going to make it. And she was super scared and just very fragile and feeling very afraid. And she just said, would you please pray for me? And I said, absolutely, I will do better than that. I will turn around and come and pray for you in person. So that's what I did. I turned around my car on the highway, and I drove straight back to that place. And I sat with her and prayed with her. And you guys, she accepted the Lord that day. And it was amazing. You know, she had been watching me the whole time and she'd been taking in what I was saying, and I didn't even realize it. You know, I was just focused on the fact that she was mocking me and teasing me, but the Holy Spirit had been working on her heart the entire time. He had been tugging on her and showing himself real to her. And in her hour of need, she reached out for him. And that was the greatest blessing. So I don't know who is in your sphere of influence that is watching you and seeing you that you don't even know about, that you're influencing, but just know that you are. And whatever God is calling you to step up and be in faith with him about, whatever he is calling you to do, he will equip you and he will give you the grace to do it. So I encourage you in that today, and I just ask that you would be brave and be bold even when you don't feel like it, and just remember what Joshua 1:9 says. Be brave, be courageous, be strong. God is with you wherever you go. Have a great day, you guys. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our study on faith.